Tracey Lange, my colleague here at Prime Media and host of the Tracey Lange Show 9 to 12 on KFM. She's in studio here with us because yesterday we had spoken to a parent. We also got on to our phone lines the organizer of this trip in which 38 youngsters and 4 coaches went on a footballing tournament in Spain. But return flights weren't organized. At the weekend, there were a handful that had returned, but there were still 28 people, young people, and I think 3 coaches who were still stuck in Lisbon in Portugal because flights weren't booked for them to come back home. We spoke to Brandon Timmy. He says logistics was the issue. He was saying that he was trying to help sort out this issue. But it took Tracey Lange and a handful of individuals took it upon themselves to assist. And last night saw a message from Tracey saying we can confirm that we have managed to raise the funds to pay for all 28 flight tickets, and with assistance of the airline TAG have managed to secure seats on flights within the next few days. Everyone will be home by the end of the week. So on behalf of Cape Town and South Africa, because this became a national story, Tracey, well done on gathering individuals, private individuals, companies together to try and assist these boys and girls. Tell me what it was like logistically.
Listen, it was crazy logistically. All I'm going to say is, again, I've always had much respect for the people behind the scenes at NPOs and NGOs and who help others make things come true and make things possible. And I have a totally newfound respect for them. It is crazy. You cannot imagine what happens behind the scenes. But it also only went that way because people were reaching out to help. The people of Cape Town, South Africa, across the world have reached out to assist. It's incredible.
The South Africans living in Lisbon have come out to assist.
That has been mind-blowing, how they pitched up with pots of curry for these children. More than that, it was also so many of the locals in Lisbon who were reached out to by fellow South Africans. So fellow South Africans who happen to work with them. These South Africans work for global companies, goes, I've got colleagues in Lisbon. I'm going to send them around. I'm going to tell them they need to go check it out. And they did. At one point, we got a message from someone saying, listen, they've arranged to ensure that there would be security around the hostel so that the kids are completely safe, that the parents can know that they are safe. And it really just has been phenomenal. Yeah. The things that people thought of that you couldn't even begin to imagine, that you go, okay, cool. Our desire is just to make sure these kids come back along with their coaches, and then to just go, wow, yeah. They've thought of more.
So the logistics of getting flights for 28 flight tickets back, not everyone could be
on the same flight.
That's also, it's high season in Europe at the moment. Talk to me about trying to get as many people on a single flight back home, but you have said by the end of this week, likely everyone will be back home in Cape Town.
That is correct. So our greatest desire to ensure that everyone, and as per now, as flights stand, the last group will arrive on Thursday afternoon. But it's, to your point, it's also been taking a look at the fact how many adults are there. There are 3. So if that means that we need to just make sure that there's a coach with every group that leaves. So that's why we've gone now with 3 different flights to ensure that there's a coach with every flight and ensure that all these kids are still safe as they make their way home.
A fantastic effort to gather people, enterprises, individuals together, and of course the money and the logistics to run this operation, to have these kids return. But we also have to talk about the what brings us here, and that I hope becomes a topic of conversation. That becomes an investigation on how it happened that 38 youngsters end up at a tournament in Spain, supposed to be flying back from Lisbon in Portugal, but there are no flights. And there are parents who are asking those questions. Tracey Lange, really appreciate your effort. My colleague here at KFM.
Can I also just say a big thank you to one of our biggest sponsors? It was Christ Culture Church, who had said, listen, we're going to reach out. Whatever you don't have, whatever shortfall there is, we will make it happen. And then came on in a big way. It really just is phenomenal.
Tracey, really appreciate your effort, and thank you so much to all who have assisted. Virgil, we spoke to you. You were a parent of one of those kids. What's the mood like there on the ground? I know your child has returned home already, but what are you hearing of of the mood of the kids and the coaches still in Lisbon?
Firstly say thank you very much to you, everybody involved in the media, Tracey, Avukile. Just thank you so much for bringing the awareness around our kids. It's been emotionally draining for everybody. Just emotions. It's a story that has ended with a happy ending, and that is only because of the help of the media. Parents are still very much emotional. I think there's going to be lots of snot and trana at the airport. Just thinking about it,
Virgil, we have to ask how we got here, and there have to be questions asked around what were the protocols, whether it be the professional protocols, the channels of operation, about the structure of this particular tour group in terms of how much was paid, and simply how visas were approved without having return tickets booked, how youngsters could be taken from their parents, with their consent of course, to an overseas country with what it seems as the organizer saying, well, we were going to sort out the return tickets once we got there. And I think questions need to be asked about what truly happened here.
Yes, definitely, Lester. And that is one of the things that we as parents are going to follow through on. There's definitely a loophole in the system where things can be changed without notifying anybody, and having it can be anybody of us, adults, children being sent off somewhere without knowing the details of your flight being changed.
Yeah.
And we are definitely, as a group of parents, going to be lodging cases of child abduction, fraud, theft. This must be something that mustn't happen again. As sad as the story is, we as parents should make sure, and as the minister, I just also want to say thank you to Minister Ricardo Mackenzie for his presence over there with the children. But this is something that has been initiated by the media. So thank you for Tracey and Avukile for arranging the flights. But more importantly, for ministers like Ricardo Mackenzie to, follow through. It's always a case of it being on the news for a day or two, and it's just nothing thereafter.
Yeah.
But this is something that our higher authorities should make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Ricardo Mackenzie is the MEC for Sports, Arts and Culture in the Western Cape, who just happens to be in Lisbon, Portugal. You were there in your personal, private capacity, because I wondered how quickly did Ricardo Mackenzie get on a plane to go assist our stranded boys and girls there. But you've just happened to be in Lisbon over the last few days, Ricardo, and you have also played a part in making sure, you could say you're the official government representative there. I know there are consular and embassy staff there, but you've been quite busy reassuring the children and the coaches still there that plans are being made to get them home safely.
Yes, thank you, Lester. I was actually in Spain on official business, and when this matter was brought to our attention and the crisis of this matter, we having discussed it with the Premier, and he agreed that I come here and see for ourselves what's happening here. And that's why we managed to get flights to Madrid and Madrid here. And because when I spoke to the owner, Brandon, as everybody knows him, his story kept on changing. When I spoke to him, from 16 flights are booked, then he's waiting for a loan, then he's waiting for money to come in, then I must call him back in an hour. By 10 o'clock yesterday, we made the decision that I come here, see for ourselves, and obviously the Western Cape government would then process and pay for the necessary flights. By the time I landed in Madrid, Avukile reached out to me and said, hey, they've managed to reach, I think, half the money. I can't remember the exact amount, 200 to 250. And I said to him, okay, we'll then cover the rest. By the time I landed here in in Lisbon, an hour later, he called me and said, fully covered.
No need.
No need. We don't need government money. We are fully covered. So well done to Tracey and Avukile. Obviously, by the time I was here, and met with the team. We created WhatsApp group, informed the parents of the current situation. And again, a huge shout out again to Tracey and Avukile for working this and doing this.
Yeah.
And to the coaches who's been taking care of the kids for the last few days. I'm actually on a run with them now. So we're walking back to the hotel.
Okay.
And I mean that has really been an incredible what they've done. Really, my heart goes out to them.
Okay.
But to speak to the accountability measure, there's certainly going to be accountability.
Yes.
If I personally open a criminal charge, I will do. Because speaking to the coaches last night at dinner, even they informed me this is not the first time this has happened. By the way, it's not the first time this is happening. The first time parents are complaining, and obviously the social media campaign and reaching out to government. They also told me a story about how they were stuck in Dubai, how they had to find money to get home at one occasion. So there's an incredible series of events that we as government will need to investigate and prevent academies like these, who clearly didn't go through to any formal structure like SAFA and any other organization, to get their hands on some of these international tours. And obviously these are not sanctioned tours. Parents are rightfully excited. So like any parent would be, my child's going overseas. But we first want to ensure the kids get home safe. And again, thank you, Tracey, then for sorting it out. Now we need to ensure they get home safely, and then accountability need to start with Brandon and his team. And Lester, the incredible story behind it, you wouldn't even know what is happening. So I reached out to the travel agency, for example. I made so many phone calls. And the travel agency who booked the flight saying, no, the lady who booked the flights doesn't work for her. I'm like, how is it possible? There's somebody who doesn't work for you, book the flights to Spain.
I have to ask the questions, and without making any allegations, but is this a legitimate operation? And you're the MEC for sports. You would generally know who are the legitimate sporting academies and sporting outfits that arrange tours of this nature. What do we know about this BT Sports Academy?
What do we know about him based on speaking to the coaches, which is his staff, by the way, some of them are his staff, that he also owns a travel agency. So he's clearly found a way in the system and getting to arrange himself, book himself, pay for himself. It's an incredible system. And I'll get through the technical details once we've gone through all the stories and investigate and get the teams to have a look at it. But based on initial data, he seemed to have, so he was player, referee, and coach in the system. But what was incredible to me is how this agency has allowed an independent contractor to book these flights using her system. And then she told me, oh, but I don't know why Samantha, because she stole 40,000 anyway. But that's the time I had to board another flight. And I'm like, how do you use this person then to use your system if you know she's a thief?
Why are there so many moving parts with this? Whether now this allegations of theft, there have been screenshots put on air, on social media of allegedly of the mother of Brandon Timmy making threats against one of the coaches. This seems like a huge red flags here.
It's a movie in the making. I can tell you, I was shocked that the agency would allow somebody that she knows is a thief by her own admission to book flights for minors. It is bizarre.
Wow. Okay. Well, Ricardo Mackenzie, MEC for Sports, Arts and Culture in the Western Cape. He is currently in Lisbon. He was on official business in Spain. With permission of the Premier, he then is currently with those boys and girls, 28, still in Lisbon. But by Thursday, thanks to Tracey Lange, my colleague here at Prime Media and others, enough money raised from individuals and corporations to get these kids back home. Really appreciate your time, Ricardo, and thanks again to all who have assisted.